Over the past few years, you've been seeing all these new documentary shows that are kind of built around sports that you don't necessarily know a lot of what's going on inside that sport. And I got to confess to you, for me, one of those sports is F1. I don't know anything about racing. However, I understand that like Drive to Survive, which is a Formula One show that's on Netflix, it's now back for an 8th season.
I know what I'm capable of doing. I want to win badly. And sometimes too badly.
And one of the brilliant things that show does is it broadens the fandom. It expands the number of people who just know about the drama that's happening on the track and off the track. Michelle Jobin is here. She's a huge fan of F1. She's also a huge fan of Drive to Survive. And she had a lot of thoughts about the ways that show broadens the ways that fandom actually engages with F1 and racing. I got a lot out of this conversation. I hope that you do too. Let's get into it. Michelle, it's good to see you, pal.
It is good to see you too. This is the greatest day.
I'm so happy that you're here. Okay, how did you first get initiated into the world of Drive to Survive? Like, what about the show grabbed you?
So if I back up about 15 years, I actually co-hosted a show about cars for a couple of seasons.
So you have a history here.
I have a little bit of a history in motorsports. And after that, I needed a bit of a break from it. During the pandemic, like many of us, there was a lot of content out there to be watched. Yeah. And my husband found Drive to Survive on Netflix, and it immediately looped me back in. I think there's definitely a quality of escapism to it. I mean, let's face it, this sport goes all over the world. There's incredible vistas. It's beautifully shot.
Yeah, I feel like you're touring.
You are, exactly, with it. So that's really what hooked me in. And then there's something deeply humanizing about the show, getting to know the drivers a little bit better and all the players within the sport. Yeah. So that really brought me back into the world.
There is, and please pardon the pun here, but there's a formula, at work. I know I don't feel good about it either. But there's a formula. I think as you watch the show, like each season sort of unpacks the previous season over the course of 10 episodes. Although the most recent one is 8 episodes. We'll get to that in a moment. How would you say the show has kind of changed? Because it's been around it came out 2019. It's been 7 years.
2019, absolutely. Yeah. And I think now that we're in season 8, I think the show has gone through some changes where we see it being quite a bit more self-aware because you see the effect of the show on the sport, and then you see that reflected back in the show as well. So, these drivers, while some of them were very famous within fans of the sport, have become celebrities, drivers across the grid, even the ones that are perhaps not as successful or newer to the sport. Yeah. Some of them can't walk down the street now. Yeah. So you see that reflected back into how they interact in the show. There is one driver that unfortunately starts to receive death threats at one point, Jack Doohan, who was a rookie last season. Yeah. So you see that. We've seen in season 8, like you said, a return. Now there's only 8 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that has to do with picking and choosing storylines that perhaps might be perceived as more successful. Yeah. And then it could also have to do with driver participation. Two of the biggest drivers in the sport don't give direct-to-camera interviews, but there's some very nice moments. So you see Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton a lot in the series.
The way you said Max, like he's like your best friend.
My buddy
Max, my good pal Max.
Yeah, my good pal Max. But he hasn't actually done an on-camera interview since season 3, I think. And that's because he's aware of how, look, the medium is. Reality TV is what it is, and creative license can be taken. Yeah. But I think it still gives you this really, really interesting view into the lives of the drivers in the sport.
I mean, I will say that, like, first of all, Lewis Hamilton currently dating Kim Kardashian.
Which is going to be interesting next season, for sure.
I was going to say, like, I'm interested in seeing how that ends up playing out, over, because, like, the current season, I guess we should explain this, is that the fact that every season you're watching the entirety of the season that had just ended a year ago.
Right. It ends in December and then airs in March, right before the new season begins.
Right. So, like, it's kind of like it's dropped just in time for being like, okay, let's get ready for this new season.
Right. And we've been waiting for content because we've been waiting for races if you're fans of the sport.
I should tell people who are listening on the radio, you're literally vibrating with excitement. You're like,
literally.
let me sort of have this. But again, this is a show where the result of the competition is already known, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about people the same names. That Max and Lewis are good pals. They've been the dominant names for quite some time in the sport. So how does the show keep you, kind of hooked as you kind of like, I already know the results.
Exactly.
I kind of already know that the two big names are probably the people who won. How do you stay engaged?
Well, if you're new to this,
let me tell you.
Yeah. Last season, the 2025 season was very different in that Lando Norris was the world championship winner, the driver championship winner.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a plot twist.
Yeah.
A plot twist last year. So it was a very exciting season overall. It kicks off with the 75th anniversary of the sport. The F1 movie was released. We see a lot of background and we see a lot of context and conversations that unpack some of the rivalry that unfolds.
Yeah.
We see driver changes last year. Lewis Hamilton goes to Ferrari, which then displaces my favorite driver, Carlos Sainz, to a new team, Williams. And we see them unpacking how to do their job.
What makes
in
a
this new
favorite
space.
driver? Can I ask you? What
I think
vibe.
a bit of a vibe. I would say he's very resilient. He's a great strategist as a driver as well. He also seems like not too much of a drama queen as well, which is sometimes not as great for the show, but really great for the sport. So I love how he conducts himself.
I'm glad that you mentioned the F1 movie because like that is one of the things that maybe has changed in terms of like the profile of the sport is that I don't think you get the F1 movie without this show. Right?
100%.
Like I think like the profile of the show and the ways and the drama that you get to see on and off the track actually kind of becomes fodder for Brad Pitt starring that Formula One movie that came out last summer. And I should just read you the Vox review from 2021 described Drive to Survive like this: imagine the Real Housewives if the housewives were driving at 300 miles per hour. Does the show fall under like this category of like actually it's really juicy reality TV, or is it like, oh, this is like a serious documentary look at the industry? Like how do you read the show?
Column A and column B, absolutely.
Okay,
I know not of Housewives that much because I haven't watched the show, but I understand that they live a very luxe lifestyle, and that's very interesting. And that's certainly here. Look, the drivers make millions of dollars. They live in the houses. They live in Monaco. There's yachts. There's private jets. That is all inherent in the sport. Yeah. But you also get, like I said, some backstory. There's a rookie last year that was still trying to finish high school in the middle of that. So that context is sort of very interesting in relation to that. But there's gossip. George Russell loves to talk to the camera, loves to give gossipy sound bites, and that's really interesting. But on the flip side of that, you also get, it's beautifully shot. You get onboard viewpoints that are cut back and forth during races that give you I would say, additional context that you wouldn't have had before when you're just watching the race. Yeah. So I think it's fun to go back and unpack that watching Drive to Survive. I really love it.
Okay, so let's take a listen to what's in store for this new season, which is season 8 of Drive to Survive.
This year, almost every team in Formula One have got an entirely different lineup.
It's fun to have something new.
You got 6 rookies.
They're just kids.
I've passed my driving test. Going at 30 kph is boring.
McLaren are the team to beat.
Who's had the best results together? We did.
They're both #1 drivers. We let them fight it out on track. It's very risky.
Could get spicy.
I mean, like the kid who said, I just passed my driving test, he looks like a baby, Michelle. He looks very, very young. Tell me about how you feel about this new season. Like, does the show still have you?
It absolutely does, because as I mentioned, 2025 was an incredibly exciting season in Formula One, and that shows some of the rivalry that develops. In the end, it's a 3-driver fight for the title, for the driver title that comes down to the very last race. So that is really exciting. It's set up there. It starts out in a really fun way. You get Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri that are almost like the Statler and Waldorf, like on the Muppets, of like comic relief throughout the season. It's really funny. And they end up fighting for the title along with Max. I think it really unpacks things like Christian Horner, who is the team principal from Red Bull, who was embroiled in a big scandal last year, losing his job. And there's a lot of additional storyline there. You get a lot of fun, really fun moments. Max and Lewis talking about the fact that Max is having a baby baby this year. So even though they're not giving to-camera interviews, there's a lot of interesting conversations that the crew picks up on.
Yeah.
What I'm missing as a huge fan of the sport with 8 episodes versus 10
Yeah.
is diving deeper into the more, I would say, accessory storylines. That would be really enjoyable
literally
for
just
me.
spend more time diving into them.
It becomes like the McLaren show by the end of the season, which is really focused on the team that won the constructors and won the title. And I would like a little bit more of the other teams and drivers, personally.
I think about all these sort of documentary shows that have been kind of coming out to onboard new fans. Like it works, for example, like there's a cycling doc for Tour de France, right? Like for the
same production company as well.
Well, I mean, like, and that's just it, is taking sports that like usually are a mystery to people outside of the interest of that sport. Also, they're saying, what if we spent just a bit of time demystifying it and adding some drama here? Are you surprised by how large of a fandom this show has?
I don't think it was so at all, because I think, look, there's only, this year there's 22 drivers on the grid.
Yeah.
Previous to that, 20 drivers. It's a very exclusive sport. It's extremely difficult. It's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
So there's something about it that's, really, really interesting. I love the fact that this show has opened the doors to more fans, potentially. I don't love the gatekeeping.
Yeah, of course.
I don't love it. So, yeah.
Michelle, I appreciate you being here. Drive to Survive is out now. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, friend.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Michelle Jobin is a TV host and producer and writer and F1 stan right here in Toronto. I'm Elamin. This is Commotion. See you tomorrow.